Chapter 1. A New Beginning. I was born on a sweltering summer day, July 31st, 1912, in the bustling borough of Brooklyn, New York City. The air was thick with the sounds of horse-drawn carriages, the cries of street vendors, and the distant rumble of the city's ever-growing network of trains and trolleys. Little did I know that this vibrant, noisy world would shape my life in ways I could not have imagined. My parents, Jenny and Gino Friedman, were immigrants from Hungary, a country known for its rich history and culture. They had fled their homeland in search of a better life, a dream shared by countless others who had ventured to the shores of America. My father, a skilled tailor, worked tirelessly to provide for our family, while my mother, a warm and loving woman, dedicated herself to caring for our home. I was the youngest of 4 children, a position that often brought both privilege and responsibility. My older siblings, Beatrice, Arthur, and Robert, were my constant companions, my teachers, and my rivals. We spent countless hours playing in the streets, exploring the nearby parks, and dreaming of the future. Our family lived in a modest apartment in Brooklyn, a place filled with warmth, laughter, and the comforting aroma of my mother's cooking. Though our living conditions were humble, we were rich in love and support. My parents instilled in us the values of hard work, education, and perseverance. They taught us to respect others, to be kind, and to always strive for excellence. As a child, I was a curious and inquisitive soul. I loved to read, to learn, and to explore the world around me. I was particularly fascinated by numbers and patterns, a fascination that would later lead me to the study of economics. I spent countless hours poring over books, solving math problems, and conducting simple experiments. I attended public school in Brooklyn, where I excelled in my studies. I was a voracious reader, devouring books on a wide range of topics, from history and science to literature and philosophy. I was also a gifted debater, often engaging in lively discussions with my classmates and teachers. One of my most vivid memories is of the Great Depression, a period of economic hardship that cast a long shadow over the nation. I witnessed firsthand the struggles of my family and neighbors as they faced unemployment, poverty, and uncertainty. These experiences shaped my worldview and fueled my desire to understand the forces that drive economic prosperity and inequality. As I grew older, my interest in economics deepened. I was drawn to the subject's power to explain the complexities of the world around us. I was particularly intrigued by the role of markets, money, and government in shaping economic outcomes. I began to question the conventional wisdom of the time, seeking to understand the underlying principles that govern economic behavior. Chapter 2. A Young Economist. The year was 1929, and the world was on the brink of a great economic disturbance. As a young man of 17, I was filled with a sense of wonder and excitement about the future. I had just graduated from high school, and I was eager to embark on my higher education journey. I chose to attend Rutgers University, a renowned institution known for its strong academic programs and vibrant campus life. My heart was set on studying economics. I was fascinated by the intricate workings of markets, the ebb and flow of business cycles, and the impact of government policies on economic outcomes. I believed that a deep understanding of economics could help to solve some of the world's most pressing problems, such as poverty, inequality, and unemployment. At Rutgers, I was exposed to a wide range of economic theories, from classical economics to the emerging field of Keynesian economics. I was particularly drawn to the work of Alfred Marshall, a renowned economist who emphasized the importance of marginal analysis and the role of supply and demand in determining prices. I was also fascinated by the ideas of John Maynard Keynes, who argued that government intervention could help to stabilize the economy during periods of recession. While I was a dedicated student, I was also a curious and inquisitive mind. I often challenged the ideas of my professors, seeking to understand the underlying assumptions and implications of their theories. I was particularly interested in the role of money and banking in the economy, and I spent countless hours poring over textbooks and scholarly articles. The Great Depression, which began in 1929, cast a long shadow over my college years. I witnessed firsthand the devastating impact of economic downturn on individuals and families. The widespread unemployment, poverty, and social unrest of this era solidified my belief in the power of economics to address pressing social problems. I became increasingly convinced that a well-functioning economy was essential to human well-being. After graduating from Rutgers in 1932, I faced a challenging job market. The Depression had made it difficult to find employment, even for recent college graduates. I eventually landed a position as a statistician with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. While this job provided me with valuable experience in data analysis and economic research, I yearned for a more intellectually stimulating challenge. In 1935, I decided to pursue graduate studies at the University of Chicago. This was a pivotal moment in my life, as it would lead me to some of the most influential economists of the 20th century. At Chicago, I was fortunate to study under the guidance of Frank Knight, Jacob Viner, and Henry Simons. These brilliant minds challenged me to think critically, to question conventional wisdom, and to develop my own unique perspective on economic issues. One of the most important lessons I learned at Chicago was the importance of rigorous empirical research. I was taught to test economic theories with data, to rely on evidence rather than ideology, and to be skeptical of claims that were not supported by facts. This emphasis on empirical research would shape my approach to economics for the rest of my career. I also learned the value of intellectual diversity. At Chicago, I was exposed to a wide range of economic viewpoints, from classical liberalism to socialism. This diversity of thought encouraged me to think critically and to challenge my own assumptions. I realized that there was no single correct answer to many economic questions, and that the best way to arrive at the truth was through open-minded debate and rigorous analysis. Chapter 3: A New Career. The year was 1935, and I was a young, ambitious economist eager to make my mark on the world. I had recently completed my undergraduate studies at Rutgers University and was now seeking a graduate program that would challenge me intellectually and prepare me for a successful career. After careful consideration, I decided to pursue a PhD in economics at the University of Chicago. Chicago, a city known for its vibrant intellectual life and its world-class institutions, was the perfect place for me to further my studies. The University of Chicago had a distinguished economics department with a faculty that included such luminaries as Frank Knight, Jacob Viner, and Henry Simons. These scholars were pioneers in the field of economics, and I was eager to learn from their wisdom and experience. My time at Chicago was a transformative experience. I was exposed to a wide range of economic theories, from classical economics to the emerging field of Keynesian economics. I was particularly drawn to the Chicago School of Economics, which emphasized the importance of free markets, limited government intervention, and sound monetary policy. One of the most influential figures in my academic life was Frank Knight. Knight was a brilliant thinker who challenged conventional wisdom and encouraged his students to think critically. He taught me the importance of rigorous analysis, clear thinking, and the pursuit of truth. I was also inspired by Jacob Viner, a renowned trade theorist who emphasized the importance of empirical evidence in economic analysis. In addition to my coursework, I was actively involved in research. I worked on a variety of projects, including studies of price theory, monetary policy, and economic history. I was particularly interested in the role of government in the economy, and I often debated with my fellow students about the merits of different economic policies. One of the most important lessons I learned at Chicago was the importance of intellectual honesty. I was taught to be skeptical of claims that were not supported by evidence, to be open to new ideas, and to always be willing to change my mind in the face of new information. This commitment to intellectual honesty would serve me well throughout my career. After completing my PhD in 1946, I joined the faculty of the University of Chicago. I was thrilled to be part of such a distinguished academic community, and I was eager to contribute to the intellectual life of the university. I taught a variety of courses, including price theory, monetary theory, and economic history. I also continued to conduct research, publishing numerous articles and books on a wide range of economic topics. One of my most important contributions to economic thought was my work on monetary theory. I argued that the quantity of money in the economy is a key determinant of economic activity, and that changes in the money supply can have significant effects on inflation, unemployment, and economic growth. My ideas on monetary policy were controversial at the time, but they eventually gained widespread acceptance and have had a significant impact on economic policymaking around the world. Chapter 4: A New Theory. As I delved deeper into the world of economics, I became increasingly dissatisfied with the prevailing Keynesian orthodoxy. While Keynesian economics had offered valuable insights into the causes and consequences of economic fluctuations, I believed that it had overemphasized the role of government intervention and underestimated the power of markets. I began to develop a new approach to economics, one that was rooted in the classical liberal tradition. This approach, which I later called monetarism, emphasized the importance of monetary policy in stabilizing the economy. I argued that the quantity of money in circulation was a key determinant of economic activity, and that fluctuations in the money supply could lead to inflation, deflation, and economic instability. One of the core tenets of monetarism is the quantity theory of money, which states that the general price level is directly proportional to the quantity of money in circulation. In other words, if the money supply grows too rapidly, it can lead to inflation, while if it grows too slowly, it can lead to deflation. Another important aspect of monetarism is the concept of the natural rate of unemployment. This is the rate of unemployment that exists when the economy is operating at its full potential. According to monetarist theory, government attempts to reduce unemployment below the natural rate through expansionary fiscal or monetary policies will ultimately lead to higher inflation. To support my monetarist ideas, I conducted extensive empirical research. I analyzed historical data on inflation, unemployment, and economic growth, and I found strong evidence to support my theories. I also engaged in lively debates with other economists, both at the University of Chicago and elsewhere, to defend my views. My work on monetarism attracted the attention of policymakers and the public alike. In the 1960s and 1970s, I became a prominent figure in the public debate over economic policy. I argued that the government should adopt a monetary policy that is focused on price stability rather than on achieving specific targets for economic growth or employment. I also warned of the dangers of excessive government spending and debt. One of the most significant challenges I faced was convincing policymakers to adopt my ideas. At the time, Keynesian economics was the dominant paradigm, and many policymakers were reluctant to embrace a new approach. However, as the 1970s unfolded, and as inflation rates soared to levels not seen in decades, policymakers began to reconsider their approach to economic policy. My work on monetarism has had a lasting impact on economic thought and policy. It has helped to shape the way we think about inflation, unemployment, and economic growth. It has also led to significant reforms in monetary policy, particularly in the United States and the United Kingdom. While there is still much debate about the best way to manage the economy, monetarism remains a powerful and influential force in economic thought. Chapter 5. A Public Intellectual. As my academic reputation grew, I found myself increasingly drawn into the public sphere. I was invited to give lectures, participate in debates, and write op-eds for newspapers and magazines. I relished the opportunity to share my ideas with a wider audience and to engage in public discourse on important economic issues. One of the issues that I was particularly passionate about was the role of government in the economy. I argued that government intervention often had unintended consequences, such as inefficiency, corruption, and reduced economic growth. I advocated for a more limited role for government, emphasizing the importance of free markets and individual liberty. My views on government intervention were often controversial, and I frequently found myself at odds with Keynesian economists and other proponents of government spending. However, I was undeterred by the criticism. I believed that my ideas were based on sound economic principles, and that they could help to improve the lives of people around the world. In the 1960s and 1970s, I became a leading voice in the monetarist movement. I argued that the money supply is the primary determinant of economic activity, and that central banks should focus on controlling the money supply to achieve price stability. I also emphasized the importance of sound fiscal policy, including balanced budgets and low levels of government debt. My ideas on monetary policy were particularly influential during the stagflation of the 1970s. This period of high inflation and high unemployment challenged the Keynesian consensus and led many economists to reevaluate their thinking. My work on monetary policy provided a compelling explanation for the stagflationary crisis and offered a potential solution. In addition to my academic work, I was also a prolific writer. I authored numerous books and articles on economics, including Capitalism and Freedom, A Monetary History of the United States, and Free to Choose. These books have been widely read and have had a significant impact on economic thought and policy. One of my most important contributions to public discourse was my work on the relationship between economic freedom and political freedom. I argued that economic freedom is a necessary condition for political freedom. When people are free to make their own economic choices, They are less likely to be subject to the whims of government tyrants. I also emphasize the importance of property rights. I argued that secure property rights are essential for economic growth and innovation. When people know that they can own and control their property, they are more likely to invest, save, and take risks. My work on economic freedom and property rights has had a lasting impact on the global debate about economic policy. I believe that these ideas are essential for building a prosperous and free society. Chapter 6. A Nobel Prize. The year was 1976, and I was in my mid-60s, still actively engaged in research and teaching. My work on monetary theory and the role of government in the economy had garnered significant attention, and I was widely regarded as one of the leading economists of my generation. Little did I know that this year would bring one of the greatest honors of my life. In October, I received a phone call from Stockholm, Sweden, informing me that I had been awarded the Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences. I was surprised and overjoyed. It was a moment of pure joy, a culmination of decades of hard work and intellectual pursuit. The Nobel Prize was a recognition of my contributions to the field of economics, particularly my work on monetary theory and the role of government in the economy. My theories, which had often been met with skepticism and controversy, were now being widely accepted and praised by the global academic community. The award ceremony in Stockholm was a truly unforgettable experience. I was humbled to be among such distinguished laureates, and I was honored to receive the Nobel Prize medal from the King of Sweden. The banquet that followed was a grand affair, attended by royalty, government officials, and leading intellectuals from around the world. The Nobel Prize brought with it a significant increase in public attention. I was invited to give lectures, participate in debates, and write op-eds for newspapers and magazines. I used this platform to advocate for economic freedom, limited government intervention, and sound monetary policy. I also used the prize money to establish the Milton Friedman Foundation for Economic Freedom. This foundation is dedicated to promoting economic freedom and free market principles around the world. It supports research, education, and public policy initiatives that are consistent with my economic philosophy. Receiving the Nobel Prize was a life-changing experience. It not only brought me personal recognition, but also provided me with a powerful platform to promote my ideas and to make a positive impact on the world. I am grateful for this honor and for the opportunity to have contributed to the advancement of economic knowledge. Chapter 7. A Life of Service. Even after receiving the Nobel Prize, I remained committed to my academic pursuits and public service. I continued to teach at the University of Chicago, inspiring generations of young economists. My lectures were always thought-provoking, challenging students to think critically and question conventional wisdom. I also continued to write books and articles, sharing my insights on a wide range of economic issues. My writings explored topics such as monetary policy, inflation, unemployment, and economic growth. I argued for a free market approach to economic policy, emphasizing the importance of individual liberty, property rights, and limited government intervention. In addition to my academic and writing pursuits, I was actively involved in public policy debates. I served as an advisor to policymakers in the United States and abroad. I testified before Congress, appeared on television and radio programs, and wrote op-eds for major newspapers. I used these platforms to advocate for sound economic policies and to warn against the dangers of government intervention. One of the issues that I was particularly passionate about was the welfare state. I argued that government welfare programs often created dependency and discouraged work. I proposed reforms that would reduce the size and scope of the welfare state while promoting individual responsibility and self-reliance. I also spoke out against government regulations that hindered economic growth and innovation. I argued that excessive regulation can stifle competition, raise prices, and reduce consumer choice. I advocated for deregulation and for a more market-oriented approach to economic policy. My work on economic freedom and limited government had a significant impact on public policy debates around the world. My ideas inspired a generation of policymakers and economists, and they continue to shape economic discourse today. In my later years, I remained active and engaged in the world around me. I continued to write, to give lectures, and to participate in public debates. I also enjoyed spending time with my family and friends. My life was a testament to the power of ideas. Through my research, writing, and teaching, I sought to promote economic freedom and human prosperity. I believe that these ideals are essential for building a just and equitable society. Chapter 8. A Beloved Husband and Father. While my professional life was filled with intellectual pursuits and public discourse, my personal life was equally fulfilling. My marriage to Rose Director was a partnership built on love, mutual respect, and shared intellectual interests. Rose was not only a loving wife, but also a brilliant writer and editor. She was my constant companion, my confidant, and my greatest supporter. Together, we raised two wonderful children, Janet and David. They were both intelligent, kind, and compassionate individuals. As parents, Rose and I strive to instill in our children the values of hard work, honesty, and integrity. We encourage them to pursue their passions and to always strive for excellence. Our family life was filled with love, laughter, and intellectual stimulation. We often discussed current events, books, and ideas around the dinner table. These conversations fostered critical thinking and a lifelong love of learning in our children. One of the most rewarding aspects of parenthood was watching our children grow and develop. We were proud of their accomplishments, both academic and personal. We supported their dreams and aspirations, and we were always there to offer guidance and encouragement. As our children grew older, we became grandparents. Our grandchildren brought us immense joy and a renewed sense of purpose. We loved spending time with them, reading stories, playing games, and sharing our experiences. We were grateful for the opportunity to pass on our values and traditions to the next generation. Throughout our lives, Rose and I maintained a strong bond. We traveled the world together, exploring different cultures and experiencing new adventures. We also enjoyed spending time at our home in California, where we could relax and recharge. Rose was a remarkable woman, and I was blessed to have her as my wife. She was a source of strength, inspiration, and love. Her untimely death in 2002 was a profound loss, but her memory lives on. My family was my greatest source of happiness and fulfillment. They provided me with unconditional love and support, and they helped me to stay grounded and focused. I am grateful for the time we spent together and for the memories we created. Chapter 9. A Legacy of Freedom. Even in my later years, I remained passionate about promoting economic freedom and limited government. I continued to write books, give lectures, and participate in public debates. My goal was to inspire future generations to embrace free market principles and to challenge the prevailing orthodoxy. One of my most important contributions to economic thought was my emphasis on the importance of individual liberty. I believe that individuals should be free to make their own economic choices without undue interference from government. This freedom, I argued, is essential for economic growth, innovation, and human flourishing. I also emphasize the importance of sound monetary policy. I believe that central banks should focus on maintaining price stability and avoiding inflationary booms and busts. I warned against the dangers of excessive government spending and debt, which can lead to economic stagnation and financial crises. My ideas on economic freedom and limited government have had a lasting impact on public policy debates around the world. They have inspired policymakers to implement reforms that have led to increased economic growth, reduced poverty, and improved living standards. One of the most significant challenges facing the world today is the rise of populism and authoritarianism. These movements often promote protectionist trade policies, increase government spending, and higher taxes. I believe that these policies are harmful to economic growth and individual liberty. To combat the rise of populism, we must educate the public about the benefits of free markets and limited government. We must also encourage critical thinking and independent analysis. By promoting economic literacy, we can empower individuals to make informed decisions about their own lives and the future of their communities. I am optimistic about the future of economic freedom. While there are challenges to overcome, I believe that the principles of free markets and limited government will continue to guide us toward a more prosperous and just society. As I reflect on my life, I am grateful for the opportunities one have had to contribute to the field of economics. I am also grateful for the many friends and colleagues who have supported me along the way. My hope is that my work will continue to inspire future generations to strive for a better world. Chapter 10. A Final Word. As I approach the end of my life, I reflect on the journey that has brought me to this point. I have been blessed with a long and fulfilling life, filled with intellectual challenges, personal triumphs, and the love of my family and friends. My work as an economist has been driven by a deep belief in the power of individual liberty and free markets. I have argued that economic freedom is not only a means to prosperity, but also a fundamental human right. When people are free to pursue their own economic goals, they can create wealth, innovation, and opportunity for themselves and others. I have also been a strong advocate for limited government. I believe that government should play a limited role in the economy, focusing on protecting property rights, enforcing contracts, and providing essential public goods. Excessive government intervention, I have argued, can stifle economic growth, lead to inefficiency, and erode individual liberty. While I have faced criticism and opposition throughout my career, I have remained steadfast in my convictions. I have always believed that the truth will eventually prevail, and that sound economic principles will ultimately triumph over ideology and special interests. As I look to the future, I am hopeful that the principles of economic freedom and limited government will continue to inspire generations to come. It is my sincere hope that my work will contribute to a world where individuals are free to pursue their dreams, and where societies are prosperous and just. In closing, I would like to offer a final piece of advice. Always question the status quo. Do not be afraid to challenge conventional wisdom and to think critically. By doing so, we can uncover new insights and solutions to the challenges facing our world.